What's up, everybody? It's your man right here, the one and only, that beautiful Rhode Island Red Rooster, one of the original road warlords. And as always, bring you the knowledge and dropping the science in this industry of what we call trucking, okay? I'm doing this particular video to speak on guys that, a lot of questions that I've been getting there are that guys want to buy trucks. They want to buy, they want to buy trucks and stuff, but their preference is to get something that's pre-emission, versus the post-emission because of the numerous problems and complaints that have been coming with post-emission trucks. Trucks that were built after 2007, which either had they all have regen, and then some of them have the DEF added on and stuff. That was in 2011. So a lot of guys have, they're having their concerns and stuff, and rightfully so. When you look, you see a lot of guys and stuff, man, that have post-emission trucks are having problems and stuff, and they're saying that, well, the DEF system that need to be on trucks and stuff. And I'm heard, some people even considering doing super tunes, which they remove the when you remove the emission systems altogether and stuff, the regen and DEF, even though they do come with fines and penalties and stuff like that. I'll do that segment for another time. But one of the things that I'm noticing when guys are purchasing equipment and stuff is that the type of trucks that they're getting, they're having the problems with the emission systems, usually belong to fleets. They belong to fleets and stuff, and then they're put out there for sale or for lease, and then a guy comes along and stuff, and he purchased the truck, and then they start having a lot of problems. And so I tell guys is that when you are purchasing a truck, right, if you can look at the specifications and see if you can get an own operator truck. If you can get an own operator spec truck, something that's own operator spec, if you're going to get something used, because most of the time in those scenarios, trucks that are own operator spec, they're going to be taken care of a lot better. A person that gets a truck and stuff brand new, right? If you get a truck brand new and stuff, usually if it's own operator spec, for whatever reason, stuff, the guy, he grows tired of it. Like, some people will get Freightliner Cascadias and stuff, and then after they get a certain amount of miles in or whatever, they trade in, they get something like a Peterbilt 379 or a 389, or the Kenworth W900. Some guys just make upgrades like that and stuff, but they started out in a Freightliner Cascadia. That's what I call big truck versus large car. Again, that's a video I'm gonna do for another time, but that's the terminology there. So, usually in those scenarios there and stuff, or trucks that came from guys that was in lease programs, their trucks are gonna be taken care of a lot better. And the reason being is because, when you're on operating, you understand the dynamics of your business. Then you're not going to let things and stuff just lag on and stuff. And it's not that you're doing it per se. It's just a company driver. It's just not their responsibility. It's not their responsibility and stuff. They're just basically getting paid to drive the truck from point A to point B and stuff. And you got to remember, when you was a company driver, things you have to take into considerations. Were they doing PMs on times? Were they doing overheads? Were they doing, real preventive maintenance and stuff that you as an own operator and stuff are going to do? So, in those instances there and stuff, a lot of guys wind up getting fleet trucks. And when they get those fleet trucks, they have to build them back up to spec because you had drivers in them. And I won't say necessarily drivers, but it was just in a fleet where they didn't maintain it. They didn't have that one-on-one and stuff that you would have and stuff, when you purchase a truck. Because fleets normally run, there's a fleet manager, and the trucks are built to a certain specification. And so, then it's monitored, and stuff, by the computer. And so they get a printout and they see, okay, well, this truck is, we want our fleet and stuff, to run X amount miles per gallon. We want this amount of idle on the truck, So you get those type of printouts and stuff there. And so when you're buying them as a fleet and you see that the truck are averaging based upon the specifications of what the fleet wants, then they usually keep the truck. So if it gets any kind of fault codes or whatever and stuff, that fleet manager will see it and he'll deal with the problem. He'll deal with the problem that way, as opposed to an own operator, and having an own operator spec truck. If you have a fault code or whatever and stuff, you know what the problem is and stuff, and then again handle it accordingly. So again, fleet trucks and stuff are not going to be taken care of like someone who's an own operator and stuff. They're not interested in being weight conscious or speed conscious, those sort of things there and stuff. He doesn't have that real one-on-one. It's based upon whatever that computer tells him, on each equipment. And as long as they're running the average, then everything's okay and stuff. But then, in the midst of that and stuff, you're going to have a few trucks that are going to run up to par and stuff. And when those situations right there happen, they send it to the manufacturer. And then if the manufacturer can't get it right and stuff, then, they just let the truck go back. They get them another truck and stuff, and, kind of upgrade the fleet a little bit. But that truck that was a problem, the manufacturer will, fix it to the best of their ability and stuff, and then put it out here for sale and stuff. And then, you'll see it like, oh man, it's a good deal and stuff like that. And then once you get in the truck, then that's when you'll start having the problems and stuff, regardless of whether it has a warranty or not. So the idea is to get you an own operator spec truck if you can, because most times the stuff, if you get an own operator spec truck, then it's going to be taken care of a lot better. So you won't run into a lot of these after treatment issues and stuff like that, because usually when it comes up, he's going to take, the guy's going to take it to the shop, get it looked at, and whatever needs to be fixed is going to be fixed and stuff, and then they're going about their business. Because if you get a truck that was maintained by a fleet, then, you can get the truck back up to par, but that's what you're doing. You're basically taking the truck and stuff, and then, just getting everything back up to par and stuff, so the after treatment system and stuff is just one of the bigger things. So, you just take that into consideration and stuff, if you're if you're purchasing a truck. So let's see, I got 8 minutes in and stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here and stuff. Just tune in to part 2 where I go more in depth about guys that are trying to purchase a truck, and some of the problems and stuff that you have, own operator spec versus a fleet truck. So tune in to part 2.